All right, trade pros, good morning. Welcome to the morning market update for Wednesday, March the 27th, 2019. Where has March gone? You might be looking at me wondering, holy crap, George is wearing a button up and a collar shirt. Yes, I am. For one reason, I have a very important meeting today. No, I ditched the dress clothes when I left my corporate job, but I'll tell you this. The only reason I'm wearing it today might surprise you. It's not a meeting. It just, I haven't done laundry. This is all I had that was clean. So it's laundry day at Trade Pro Academy head office. The whole team's going to head over and do laundry at my place. No, we're not. This is morning market update number 429. Holy smokes, we've been at this for a long time. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm honored to be here with you. All right, let's start with our morning market fun fact today. We got a lot to cover. On this day in 2000, technology stocks set a record for industry representation being part of the S&P 500, and they accounted for 34.9% of the whole S&P 500, which was a record. Cisco Systems became the world's most valuable company, valued at $548 billion. That doesn't seem like a lot. Remember, this was 2000, because now Apple and Amazon have surpassed that, at least temporarily. All right, which at the time had never before been seen in any sector or in any industry for a company and one single sector to account for so much of the stock market. All right. However, over the next year, it shrunk to just 17% of the broad market index. All right. And tech stocks lost more than half of their value. Cisco shed $425 billion, more than half their valuation. And it was the fastest and biggest fall in market value and any stock had ever seen. All right. So I'll tell you this. When asset valuations get stretched, when the party feels like it's at its finest moment of the finest hour, as traders, we head over to the coat check. We want to be out of there. Get our car, get out of the parking lot. If you've been drinking, get an Uber. But leave the venue. And it's starting to feel that way. We're starting to see an economic deterioration as markets make a little run up higher. I do think we're going to hit new all-time highs before we start to sell off. And it's starting to feel that way for sure. Today is a huge, let's restart. Today is a massive day for Boeing stock, all right, and the FAA, the Federal Aviation and Safety Regulators, all right, as they're trying to rebuild trust in the eye of shareholders. And I think the most important part here is not actually the shareholder, it's the stakeholder. Because when a shareholder buys a stock, they expect the risk of a single event, all right? That's part of what you're assuming when you purchase one share. Right? And it's really who they need to reassure are the passengers. Because I don't know what you guys are doing when you're flying, if any of you have taken vacation or had a business trip or a flight since, but I'm checking and I'm not booking any 737s. I don't care if it's a MAX 8 or whatever it is. I'll pay more gladly to be in an Airbus. And Airbus just sealed a bigger deal with China. And I can tell you that if I'm doing it, because I'm not a paranoid kind of person, but if I'm doing it, I guarantee you other people are doing it. And I can also guarantee you airlines are noticing those statistics. They mine that data fiercely. Anywho, call me crazy. I've heard it before. I've heard it all. All right. So Boeing has scheduled a briefing for about 200 pilots and airline representatives in a conference today in Washington, home of the 737 assembly plant. All right. Expected to outline software changes and control systems and how that will impact and create more safety in their aircraft. That's happening today. Meanwhile, a Senate panel in Washington, D.C. at the same time will be questioning the FAA, the DOT, Department of Transportation's Inspector General, and the head of the NTSB, all right, about how thoroughly this MCAS system will be improved, all right, how the software will update it, and ultimately how they can assure the safety of all passengers in the future. So while they're doing a press conference, Boeing, the company themselves, or not a press conference, but rather an event for pilots and airline industry executives, team members, Washington at the same time is going to be grilling regulators on what happened. So it's going to be an interesting day. I'm sure there'll be news out of Boeing as this happens. Listen to the news wire. We have Trade the News. You don't have to get Trade the News, but our members get a special discount. We have a group rate plan, and they could have some significant savings on a monthly basis. It's a premium news service that's wired in most proprietary desks around the world. It's that or RANSQUAK. Those are the two competitors. RANSQUAWK. That's actually tough to spell. I'd hammer it. All right. I don't know. I don't care what you listen to. Just listen to something. Heck, if all you got is Twitter, Twitter's pretty good as well. All right. That's Boeing. That's on the calendar for today. You're going to find this interesting because pigs were the best investment in the last month. Hogs. All right. What was the biggest winner of the past month? Pigs. So they say hogs get fed, pigs get slaughtered. That's our saying in trading. Well, guess what? Hog futures gained over 50% in the last month alone. 50. All right. And the reason for that is because China is expecting to start importing U.S. pork into their country because they're having a shortage due to swine flu infections. And that's a big deal for them. All right. Because they consume a lot. This next stat will be interesting. But first, before we do that, even though China has levied a 62% tariff on pork coming from the United States, China said, all right, you guys can import all the pork you want from the U.S. We're going to charge you 62% tariff. And the government takes that, puts it in their pocket, and uses it for their operations, for their budgets, whatever they decide. All right. So even though there's a tariff on U.S. pork, China is still importing it to offset the supply off of their swine flu infections in their feed. All right. Here's the interesting part. China is the biggest producer. I don't want to use the word producer, all right? These animals are living. I have compassion for them, and I eat them at the same time. So I guess I'm a hypocrite. But pigs, especially, are very intelligent beings. They're life forms, all right? So I don't want to say produced, but let's say raised, cared for, loved, and, raised is a good word. And so China is the biggest raiser and consumer of pork. In 2018, they raised 710 million hogs. That's like a significant amount of the population worldwide of humans. It's not really, because there's 6 billion now, almost 7 billion people, but 710 million hogs, and they consumed 56 million tons of pork. Wow. Which is half of the worldwide consumption. So China is a heavy consumer of the worldwide pork. Also, though, remember, these statistics are they sound enormous and massive when you say it like that, but the Chinese population as a world total is also a significant chunk. So, yes, they consume half, but they're also a big percentage. All right, oldest civilization in the world. My mom would say no, Bulgaria is. All right, so here's the next question that we have. By the way, check out hogs. Hog futures are on a tear. They're ripping higher, and I just checked the chart before we actually did this update, and what I was seeing is no pullbacks at all. This thing is literally vertical and very bullish. Interesting commentary comes out of one of Federal Reserve members, but they are a non-voter. All right, Robert Kaplan, the Dallas Fed president. He is currently a dove. A dove means he sees lower interest rates. All right, he sees more accommodative policy and more helping the stock market. That's what a dove means. A hawk is the opposite. Higher rates. Let's tighten liquidity. All right, that's not Robert. Good old Robbie here is for liquidity, for lower rates, for more stimulation and accommodation to the market. So remember that. And also remember that he's a non-voter of the FOMC. Marky, you're kind of trapped. You got to, oh, there you go. Marky, two at the same time. I wish you guys could see that. I wish this camera was like dual, front to back. You would have seen something very funny. Anywho, so remember, he's a non-voter and he's a dove. So what he's saying isn't being voted on in these Federal Open Market Committee or FOMC meetings, but he is still part of the Federal Reserve. All right. The Fed is a complicated structure. We've done a video on it. I think it's time we do another one. All right. So what he said is, before considering whether to lower rates, so he's not talking about raising rates. Obviously, he's a dove. Remember, take this in context. Said before the Fed considers whether to lower rates, I need to see an inversion of some magnitude of the yield curve he's talking about, which we've seen on the 3-month and 10-year. But the 2 and 10-year yield is the one the Fed watches more closely. All right, and 10 and 30. But he says, I need to see an inversion of some magnitude and of some duration. And right now, we don't have either. So there's no real rate cut outlook. If you see an inversion that goes on for several months, that's a different kettle of fish. Something very important in that statement, and it's not the kettle of fish. It's the fact that he said if you see an inversion for several months, so he's kind of laid out a timeline. And if you think about it, if he's saying that, pretty sure that's sort of the pulse of the Federal Reserve as well. All right, so interesting. He says we're not there yet. And the Federal Reserve has just told you what they need to see a rate cut. That yield curve is so important. I can't tell you how important it is. I'd say 100% of retail traders have no idea what a yield curve is and how to see it. But trade pros, you have to watch your yield curves. Super important. I'm going to do a video. Actually, we've done a video on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, type in Yield Curve Trade Pro Academy. You're going to find a magnitude of videos where I explain why the yield curve is important, how to create a yield curve for free, and what you have to watch for. In fact, I'm going to pull up some of those videos and link them in the description. Check back in a little bit. All right. Let's have a gander at the markets. In Asia, Japan is down 0.2%. Hong Kong's up 0.6%. China's up 1 whole percentage point. India's down 0.3. Seeing a modest bullish sentiment out of Asian markets, even though we had a nasty report last night. China's February industrial profits year to date are down 14%, negative 14% versus minus 1.9 prior. That's a huge miss. All right. And even though that's bearish for the long term, and even though that's just another data point suggesting economic slowdown globally, especially out of China. China is a big key player in the global economy. Despite the fact that the United States and China aren't besties at the moment, they still need each other for global trade and the global economy to chug along. That's a weak data point. It's been noticed, believe me. All right, in Europe at midday, all markets are down. London's down 0.4. Paris is down the same. Frankfurt's down 0.3%. And futures in the United States, Dow's down 0.3, S&P's down 0.2, and Nasdaq's down 0.2. And if I just swirl my shoulder over, looks like they're rebounding a little bit off the overnight lows at the 14 evens up to the previous day close, back to neutral territory. It's going to be a fun day today. Let me talk to you about seasonality, and I'm going to do a video on this. Comment below if you want to see me do a video on this topic. April starts with a bullish bias, very bullish indeed. The first 3 to 4 days of April are roaring bulls from a statistical perspective. And then by the end of April, markets slow down, and into May, they go into summer mode. There's a saying, sell in May and go away. In fact, if you buy equities from January, all right, to May, or to end of April rather, you could even put November into that time stretch. So if you buy from the October slump, October seasonally we sell off, November we get long, sell at the beginning of May, rotate into bonds for that period, and then dump the bonds in October, get back to getting long November. That strategy by itself has outperformed since 1950 the general market conditions. All right, it's beautiful, it's simple, and it's repeatable, especially with these. Some brokers offer commission-free ETFs. So you could do this trade and not pay a single penny for it. And if you want to know more about how to do this, considering we're going into that summer months period, pop that in the comment section below and I'll do a video for you. But I need to know that you guys want that idea. Otherwise, no point. All right. What was I going to say? However, that doesn't mean there's no trading opportunities. Day trading, there's a ton of opportunities in the summer. You're just going to have to be more patient, watch more markets, and participate in more markets. There's always opportunity in NASDAQ because it's the more volatile of the indices. All right, there's opportunity in oil. There's opportunity in gold. The number of markets that do move throughout the summer a little bit better. All right, crude oil is down 0.7% after a bearish report of inventory yesterday. Today is crude oil inventory day. Yay! The day in which in 1 hour you can make your weekly income. And the last couple of reports, to be perfectly honest with you, it hasn't happened that way. In fact, ever since I started saying that, it slowed down a little bit. I'm going to stop saying that because crude oil is a very reliable trade Wednesdays at 10:30 in the morning. We traded in a room live with everybody, and my gosh, is there good opportunities. A lot of volatility, and it's a kind of volatility that moves in line with what you would expect. It's not like a volatility that's chop. It's volatile and trendy, and I love crude oil on Wednesday mornings. I wake up Wednesday morning with it and have a cup of crude oil for breakfast. All right, gold's up 0.2%. Bitcoin's up 2.7%, cracking 4,000 once again. 10-year Treasury yield drops 4 basis points. All right, 8:30 we had January trade balance out of the United States, came out at minus 51.1 billion versus minus 57 prior, or no, 57 expected. So we had a lower balance. Exports were up 1% out of the United States. Imports are down 2.6%. And of course they would be when you have tariffs on all the goods from your main importer. All right. China trade balance minus 33.2 billion versus minus 38.7 billion. So that balance is decreasing. There's the relationship is less import from China. It's more import less because there's tariffs on most of the goods, 10%. And export more, which is pork. So that's affected the number. Donald Trump is going to celebrate this as a win. I virtually guarantee you. In fact, this came out at 8:30. I'm shocked he hasn't tweeted yet. 10 a.m. we have State Street Investor Confidence Index, and then we also have at 10:30 the crude oil inventory number. Trade that with us. It's going to be a huge opportunity. Can't wait to see you in the room. Remember this, 14-day risk-free for a membership. And if you don't like what you're hearing, we give you a refund. That's how confident we are in our community product or analysis and that you'll succeed. Okay. 11:30, results of 18 billion 2-year FRN auction, and 1 p.m. 41 billion 5-year note auction is coming up. So equity markets, rather fixed income markets, we'll see some volatility around those time periods. And at 7 p.m., Fed's Esther George, she will be speaking about economic outlook and monetary policy. And I'm going to watch the whole thing. Just kidding. At 7 p.m., I'm going to be at my Mercedes dealership getting a detail. It's that time. It's summer. I need to clean the car. Don't you hate when you get black swirl marks or little swirl marks on a black car? I know what that means. That means I didn't care for it enough. I started washing it properly, front to back, and then I ended off with just the whole circular motion that destroys cars. So I hope they can buff it back to its original beauty. All right. You guys take care. Have yourself a phenomenal day. I appreciate you all. Thanks for being here. Manage your risk at Trade Pro. I will see you guys tomorrow. And better yet, I'll see you in our trading room this morning for crude oil inventory. Today, it looks like we're going to start a little bit slower. Start with the 3 rules. All right. What are the 3 rules? Trade less size. You're not out here banging 30 lots on the S&P 500. The market's not calling for that. All right. You're not doing that. You're taking profit quicker and you're trading less. You don't want to have 30 trades when the market's in a 2-point range. It's excessive. So sometimes less is more. Start the day like that today. And as opportunity picks up, scale up, take more frequency of trades, and you can look to have runners. But first, get paid. All right. You guys take care. Have a great day. Appreciate you all. I'll see you tomorrow. And remember to comment below if you want to hear about this video idea. I forgot what it was, so maybe you forgot too. Let me refresh your memory. How could I forget? Well, that's... yeah, it was something with the yield curve. I can't believe I just blanked out. Oh, this is the beauty of doing this live. Oh, seasonality, summer market seasonality. From May to August, and how to take advantage of summer months on a more portfolio approach on a swing trade basis. Comment below if you want to see that. I'll create a video for you guys. You guys take care. Have yourself a great day. Appreciate y'all. Ciao. Trade pros in the room. Let's get started. We got some levels to look at today on the S&P 500. I'll give you some high probability trading areas and what we're going to be waiting and watching for. Crude oil this morning has opened up on the pit session at 59.95, and it is, thank you, Marky. It's seeing volumes of 218,000, almost in line with what the S&P 500 has so far. And, that's just giving us an idea that the oil market might be the place to be this morning. In terms of S&P 500, let me draw some levels. Then I'll hand it over to Marky to do the Dow Jones. And then we will do oil. So let's get started. Beautiful people of Trade Pro Academy.